Hello, everyone. Welcome to Here to Start. I'm Sandra Rincon. I am one of the co-founders and also president of the NL Alumni Network in the Netherlands. I have the pleasure of welcoming Amber Jouret she is the Senior Customer Success Manager at HiveBright, and HiveBright is our very committed super sponsor that we are very, very happy to have. Hybrid offers an all online community management and engagement platform to build communities. So we're very, very happy to have you, Amber. And I really enjoy your title of Senior Customer Success.
It's a process.
No, I mean that's really important, right? That the impact already is how are you gonna make a success, make sure that your customers are successful, right? Just focus on the customers for sure. Well, welcome, Amber.
Thank you.
One of HiveBright's clients is Global Welsh, Global Welsh, and Sarah May is here as the head of communication and operations. And Global Welsh is an initiative to connect Wales with its diaspora, right? And that's what it's a little bit like what we're doing with the big umbrella of the Holland Alumni or the NL Alumni Network around the world. So looking forward to hearing your ideas and how important it is and why is it important for entrepreneurs to have a community. So having said that, I welcome you. I thank you for your contributions, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So I'll step out and I'll leave you both the space and the opportunity to give us some tips. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandra. So
thank you. Get started.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. It's great to be here at Here to Start Fest. This is a really exciting opportunity, especially with so many entrepreneurs. And speaking with Zara, because I've been working with her for quite a while, and she has a really dynamic, interesting community of entrepreneurs. So let's get started. First question, Zara. Why did you create your community, and who is it for?
So back in 2012, Walter May, our founder, hosted an entrepreneurs conference in Wales to bring together a community in Wales. And one of the findings from the conference was that the entrepreneurs that attended that were from outside of Wales, they kind of were a bit frustrated with the fact that there was no connection back to Wales.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought given the experiences that they'd had outside of Wales, they had a lot to give. And the entrepreneurs in Wales could learn a lot from their experiences and vice versa. So that kind of sort of ignited the mission into diaspora engagement. So that was something that was quite new to Wales and hadn't been done before. So he went off and he did a bit of research which found that many nations around the world, small nations in particular, found great success from engaging with their diaspora network around the world. So anybody that's got a connection to Wales or an affinity to Wales, find them and bring back their knowledge, skills, and sometimes capital as well. So that's how that came about. And obviously, entrepreneurs and wealth creators are essential. I mean, I think something like 70% of businesses in Wales are SMEs, and there's a thriving entrepreneur community in Wales, which is growing all the time. Clusters are popping up in specific areas, fintech, medtech, and things like that. So, there's a need to connect with entrepreneurs who've left Wales. Many people do go on and they do great things, and we're here to reconnect them back to Wales and enable us all to kind of learn from those experiences and perspectives and expertise. So that's where we came from. And of course, that's the focus of what we do. It's an economically impactful initiative. We're a non-profit. So we do this purely to benefit Wales and Welsh people and Welsh businesses. and founders in Wales and outside. And yeah, so we just want to create more wealth creators, bring them together. And today we've got a community of nearly 3,000 on the Hivebright platform. It was an obvious thing for us to do, was to take these connections, which could be anywhere in the world, and put them online so they can connect with each other and share and collaborate, with the ultimate goal, of course, of creating a more prosperous nation for us all. That's it in a nutshell, Amber.
No, I think it's fascinating how, especially with online communities, the capacity to be able to bring these connections back, as people, sort of disperse all over the world, but being able to bring back these connections and these affiliations, and being able to create a community that's not just sort of regionally based, but is internationally, but yet still connects to the regional, connects to this sense of home. And particularly when promoting, your ability to make this connection to also be able to promote entrepreneurs that are either from Wales or have an affiliation. So, and you're growing, so that's amazing. So in thinking about that and your community members, how are you also able to offer them value, particularly as we're here speaking about entrepreneurs? How are you able to offer them value?
So, there's lots of ways that we enable them to come together. Obviously, the obvious one is through networking via the platform. Right. So that's proactive networking, but there are things that we facilitate. Creating opportunities to connect in meaningful ways, which is what we're kind of all about. Right. So we have our mentoring program that we have launched, and then obviously the Hivebright platform now enables us to facilitate those connections on the platform, which is really great, because it enables a peer-to-peer mentoring program, and it's self-service. So entrepreneurs can go on and they can seek out mentors themselves and create those connections. We also, when we can, we try and host networking events. Mm-hmm. I think COVID has obviously fast-forwarded that a bit for us, and we're able to do that online now, which is brilliant. And investment as well. So we've got an investor portal that connects Welsh businesses, Welsh founders, to seed capital from within the Welsh diaspora. So what we found is that many of our diaspora obviously leave Wales, go on, start their own businesses, or work for larger businesses. They acquire wealth, and often they invest that wealth, but they invest it locally to where they live. Mm-hmm. So what we wanted to do is create a place where we can bring those Welsh opportunities to these investors and bring those together, so that there's a different stream of capital for the entrepreneurs in Wales and also around the world. So that's another way that we kind of bring people together in a meaningful way.
Hi, so sorry to pop up like this. I'm also part of the Here to Start staff, and I just wanted to pop up because we're receiving some messages that people cannot hear you very well. So maybe if you can hold the microphone a little bit closer to your face, that would be great. I'm sorry. Okay. It's better. I think it's better, yeah.
Right, okay, no problem.
Yeah, thank you. And I go back to the background. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Carla. Sorry about that, everyone. Some of that. If you need me to repeat anything, let me know.
Well, I do think it's really interesting what you were talking about in terms of being able to make connections also between your entrepreneurs and investors. I suspect that is something that a lot of entrepreneurs in particularly struggle with, being able to find those connections. So maybe you might want to just repeat that part just a little bit again.
Yeah, sure. So I think what we found is that lots of Welsh people leave and they go on to acquire wealth. And we know that they are investing in businesses around the world. So we wanted to enable the opportunity to showcase some Welsh opportunities to those investors so that they're investing back in Wales,
Right.
and in Welsh founders around the world as well. So it's just showcasing those opportunities to them, which usually they might have missed.
Right. Especially when they have gone on and moved very far away. But still have an interest in investing in Wales, investing in the market, as well as those growing entrepreneurs in that area. So this is, this helps me to sort of ask another question, which is, how do you bring entrepreneurs together and encourage those collaborations? Just a little further, you gave sort of an overview, but could you explain just a little more in terms of how the collaborations work?
Yeah, so we have a number of things that we do to sort of bring people together and enable them to sort of learn from one another and collaborate. So we have a feature called Callouts on the platform, which basically enables anyone, but obviously entrepreneurs in particular, to if they're working on some R&D, or they want to find partners in other markets, or they would just want to make on-the-ground connections or even uncover commercial opportunities. We have a Callouts feature which enables them to pop that onto the platform, and then we can help them promote that to the rest of the community. So that's one way we kind of facilitate that. We've got some really successful entrepreneurs within the Welsh diaspora. So what we like to do is bring that knowledge to the fore and host events. So we have thought leadership events where we invite other members along, and they can learn from what those members of the diaspora have learned, new perspectives, expertise, things like that. So we also run workshops. So we've sent a load of entrepreneurs over to LA a couple of years ago, and they spent a week intensive course with the CEO of Pelican Products.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if anyone's familiar with Peli cases, but they're sort of like the global standard for cases for goods going overseas. So we sent a load of entrepreneurs over there to spend a week with him, and that's been transformational for their businesses. So we do things like that. We're bringing people together face to face and virtually, and of course, through the mentoring program. So that will enable entrepreneurs to list themselves as mentors and connect with other entrepreneurs to help each other sort of learn from each other's mistakes and successes, and connect in that way as well. So those are kind of the main areas.
This must create, in terms of the dynamic, it must create a really interesting dynamic when you have entrepreneurs, particularly those who may still be in Wales, are more sort of home-based, and those that have gone off, and that sort of the level of perspective that might bring in terms of, having those, especially those investors who maybe have a more global vision based on what they've gone off and done. And then you have your entrepreneurs who are maybe just starting off and are more regionally based, and being able to bring that sort of dynamic to the community, and as well as to the relationships and the collaborations.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is a lot to do with perspective, and I think and mindset, isn't it? I think you go off and you live in, say, California or something, and it's a totally different mindset to what you find in the UK or in any other country. So I think, bringing that knowledge and bringing that mindset and perspective back is really important, because, I think that sort of diversity of experience is great to have, and is so valuable when you're on this journey.
And do you think that's one way you're able to sort of attract those to your community in terms of what you offer with your memberships and your opportunities and activities?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of our value add, really, in a way. Is we've got this diaspora. They're passionately connected to Wales,
right? And
they want Wales to be a success, and they want to help, which is a key value add. But of course, they've got these difference of experience that we might not have here in house, so to speak. So yeah, that's I think that's really key differentiator for our network and our community in Wales.
And I feel like we should mention that this community is both for people who do come from Wales originally, or who are Welsh, but also for those who are just lovers of Wales and want to be a part of the community and just have some kind of sense of connection. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to actually be Welsh.
No, absolutely not. No. It all comes, we don't check your passport, no. It all comes down really to affinity, doesn't it? You know, so if you might not have been born here, you might not be Welsh, you know, have Welsh blood, so to speak, but you might have studied here or worked here or have relatives here or even been on holiday here, and you might have a, you know, that sort of connection to Wales, and you have a, you know, a real affinity to the place, and it's like a warm feeling, isn't it? And you want to, you know, translating that into practical, you know, support and economic value to the economy. So yeah, no, absolutely, you don't have to have been born here or anything, just that connection, really, whatever that is. So that's completely up to you.
You may have a great grandfather who is Welsh.
Exactly. Studies show that often third, fourth generation Welsh or third, fourth generation diaspora, rather than any nation, tend to have that sort of little bit more of a connection because they want to retrace their roots. Which is really interesting, actually.
My mother always said we had one family member who was Welsh, a great grandfather, and that's where she got her last name. That was the story.
You need to join. You must be passionate by now. They've worked with each other for a long time.
I mean, I know the success of your community. I know how it's grown, but could you share just a bit about how you define and measure success for your community or members, and just sort of what kind of results in particular are ones that you strive for within your organization?
Well, I think for us, it's you know, we're a small group of people working on this. So for us, it's all about quality over quantity. So we don't want, you know, 10,000 passive users. We want, you know, 3,000 active users. So it does come down to engagement and the value that our members are getting out of the platform. That's not to say that, you know, growth isn't important, of course. You know, but we in our first year of launching this, we launched this right at the start of this pandemic. Yeah, so we grew in the first year by about 120%, which is great. I mean, that was organic, so that's really happy with that. Yeah, really happy with that. And you know, so we've started. We do regular surveys through the survey function of Hivebright, which is great because you can just do little spontaneous surveys. You know, what kinds of things are you looking for the moment, you know, how can we help you, what kind of events are you interested in, that sort of thing. But we also do an annual survey, started doing an annual survey where we really delve into the weeds of what value our users are getting out of the platform, and being a member of Global Welsh, what challenges are they facing, how can we support them, what things are they looking for, that sort of thing. And we do that annually, and I think that, you know, sort of is a little bit more detailed and a little bit more in depth, and that kind of gives us a bit of an idea of the types of things we can sort of evolve towards in the next 12 months. So yeah, and obviously it's good to know that our members are engaging with one another and getting value not just from us but from each other, which is obviously the main point of being part of the community.
Well, I think that really speaks to the power of community. 120%. That's incredible. And I think, I mean, in terms of timing, not that, you know, any of us wanted to happen what has happened, but it's great that there was this resource for your community members, for your entrepreneurs, where they were able to connect, and obviously they found the value in that. And you're right in terms of how the network exists. It's more about the quality of those relationships, because if those people are not connecting, then what's the sense of the community? Community is all about connection. So then I just have one other question. Why is community so important to your entrepreneurs? and specifically to those in your network? I mean, based on what we've talked about, I think that we have a pretty clear idea, but do you think that they would have the same kind of, if they didn't have this kind of network to go to, if they didn't have this space where they can find this kind of support, where they can find these sorts of resources, where would they be able to find these things? So in terms of your community, what is really important for them? Do you think that this has really been something that was needed, that was a gap that you were essentially able to fill?
Yeah, I do. I mean, obviously, we were founded on the premise that there was the lack of connection, outside and back, back and forth between Welsh people globally. So I think that's definitely a need. There's definitely a huge need there. I think, more generally speaking, around being an entrepreneur and sort of extracting value from the community, I think I think it can be quite a lonely place being an entrepreneur. I think you've got this big idea, you've got this big dream, and I think you really need to sort of build a support network around you of people that you trust. And I think what a community enables you to do that, connecting peer to peer, but also connecting with people that have been there, done that, and learn from, and done that in a big way. I think a lot of our diaspora have really gone, out into the world and done some incredible things, and built big businesses. I mean, an example would be David Buttress, who is the founder of Just Eat. If any of you are familiar with that, I think you probably are. It's a food delivery service, but he's a Welsh entrepreneur. He lived in London for many years, and he's reconnected back, and we can all learn an incredible amount from him. And also, he can raise aspirations and show us all, what's truly possible, when you put your mind to it. So I think building that support network, and I think for diaspora in particular, the kind of value add there really is that, I said about trust. Trust is important because you are kind of almost isolated and a little bit vulnerable sometimes as an entrepreneur. And I think that diaspora element really adds that sort of warm, homely, trusted element to those relationships. Before you've even kind of started, that person shares something with you, and that's really unique and quite powerful. And they want to help. I think that's kind of key, is everyone that joins our community is either looking for help and wants to help, or just wants to help. And I think that's an incredibly powerful thing. And sharing something, when you're on LinkedIn or whatever, you might try and make a new connection, but that might be a cold connection. You might have some mutual connections, but what do you have in common? And I think diaspora enables you to know already what you have in common, which is, I think, pretty special.
Seems like any great idea needs some sunlight to grow, and what you're providing is the sunlight, basically.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
It's not copy. It's not. I don't have a copyright on it. Feel free to use it. Okay, so I think this is the moment to go to questions. First, I would just like to say, for anybody who has questions for actually the HighBright team, we're happy to help. Feel free to head over to our networking section of the platform and to request a meeting with one of my team members.
Yes, so here is where I come and help a little bit with the Q&A. We have, well, first, thank you. It was super interesting to hear what's happening and how it happens. Honestly, I admire entrepreneurial people so much because it takes so many guts and courage and decision. And I guess there are also some times where you just, question yourself and want to give up or something like that. So one question that I have for you is, what's the way that you motivate yourself to keep going, and what's the role of the community in there as well? When things go wrong, or plans change, or you find yourself, in a position where you're like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Well, that happens a lot. Yeah, I mean, to give a bit of context, we are a small team. I do actually work remotely, so I am on my own quite a lot. So it does take a fair amount of self-motivation. I guess it's about having, just knowing that you're going to get there eventually. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, but a healthy amount. And yeah, I think the community is really important there, because if just speaking to people can just transform your mood, or transform your approach to something, or just bring you back down to earth. I think I often find, sometimes it can be easy to get up all in your own head, and then as soon as you chat to somebody else, or talk it through with somebody, it transforms that thought process, I suppose. So just being nice to yourself, and speaking to people as much as you can, I think personally is a good thing for me.
And what do you think, Amber? How do you see it?
So, I work with a number of communities that include those that are communities of entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurs themselves. And yeah, I think that it can be, especially at times when you don't immediately see the connections or the results, it can be a bit frustrating. It can feel quite lonely because so many are remote. But I think it's, as Zara said, having the opportunity to make those connections, as well as just having sort of an end goal, and knowing that eventually you are going, it takes these little steps to get there. Sometimes it feels like one step back, 2 steps forward, but it's just a matter of keeping your eyes on what sort of your intention is, and what you want to get to. And it may not be exactly the road that you anticipated. You may have to adapt a bit, but you can get there.
I mean, you make it sound so easy, but I can imagine. I really admire entrepreneurial people. So I really admire what you guys are doing, and also creating communities and supporting each other. I think that's a super valuable thing in the entrepreneurial world. So we have no more questions in the chat. We are just right on time to finish up very nicely. I just want to thank you again. This was such a nice conversation. I learned a lot. And well, I just put on a banner for people who want to keep in touch with any of these two amazing girls. And I just want to thank you again for your time. And if you guys have something else to finalize your speech with, please.
I just wanted to say thank you to Zara. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been lovely. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. Keep enjoying the Here to Start Fest, and keep connected. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.